DCM, will you do the countdown for me and let me know when we are ready to start? Let me know what the numbers are, and then I'll do the formal introductions.
Yes, ma'am, I shall do.
Yeah.
I'm just giving it a few more. I think in terms we're sitting at 12:02.
Okay. Sitting at 170.
And we're sitting at 170 odd, right? Dr. Zinn, would you please do us the honor of coming back on camera?
Here I am, Neil.
Ah, beautiful, fantastic.
I'm so sorry I can't get you. Is the power going? I got it right at some point, Neil, in the week, and I don't know what's happened today.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thanks for your help.
No, don't stress. That's okay.
No worries.
Thank you either way. Everything looks good on our sides in terms. The numbers are still climbing. I think they're going to continue to, but I don't want us to let it hold up anything because we've got a jam-packed session and time. So please, I think without further ado, and unless, let me just check that everybody is getting in okay. Perfect.
It's perfect, Danielle. I've got automatic entry, so all good to go.
Lovely. Thank you, Carl. Alrighty. So then without further ado, in terms, over to you. Thank you very much.
Happiness, can you hear me?
Loud
you can do it, Zombie.
Fantastic. Then we're going to be starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Beautiful voices of change, family, beautiful men and women who support equality, and to everybody who's having an absolutely beautiful and sunshine-filled Friday. We welcome you to our monthly coffee sessions. Today is indeed a very, very exciting one for us. We have been blessed in so many ways with the presence of Dr. Shirley Zinn. I mean, I don't even know how to show gratitude to the fact that we have such a fantastic and phenomenal industry and business leader gracing our coffee sessions to help other women, other girls, other men grow and learn from her experiences. My name is Dr. Ntombi Mangwani. I have the proud pleasure of introducing Dr. Shirley Zinn today. Dr. Shirley Zinn is a former group head of human resources at Woolworths. Prior to this, she was head of human resources of Standard Bank, South Africa, and deputy head of human resources for Standard Bank Group. She also registered her very own company called Shirley Zinn Consulting that provides consulting and advisory services in human resource, transformation, leadership, and education. Prior to this, she was the group executive of HR at Nedbank. Before this, she was the general manager for human resources at the South African Reserve Services. She also previously served as an extraordinary professor at the University of Pretoria's Faculty of Economics and Management Sciences. She's also served as a former adjunct professor at the University of Cape Town. She is the past president of the Institute for People Management South Africa and is registered as Master HR Professional with the South African Board for People Practice. Dr. Shirley Zinn hails from Cape Town, the flats of Cape Town, and started her career as a secondary school teacher. She was teaching English. She then moved to the University of Western Cape, where she lectured as a teacher in education. After this, she served as Southern Life She served as a Southern Life as the training manager, then moved to the Department of Public Service and Administration. Dr. Shirley Zinn holds previous and current board positions. She's been the chair of DHL, Global Forwarding South Africa, and a former chair of the Starfish Gather Hearts Foundation. She also served on the board of Signia Asset Management. She also previously served as the chair of the Institute of Bankers, and in addition also formed a former independent non-executive director at ShopRite. She also previously served on the board of Cricket South Africa and is former deputy chair of the University of Cape Town. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not done. I told you we have a phenomenal person in our midst today. She also served as a former board member of the Afrocentric Group and a former board member of AdTech, and is also is lead independent and chair of the Remuneration Committee and member of the Social Ethics Committee and member of the Nominations Committee. Currently, she is an independent non-executive director on the boards of JSE listed companies Sanlam Limited and Sanlam Insurance, and MTN South Africa and Spur Corporation as well. In addition, she serves as a non-executive director on boards of the World Wildlife Fund, the chair of REMCO, board member at Tuesday Consulting, Empowerment Capital, Knowledge Resources, Business Engage, and is an executive director at Boston Consulting Group. She is the chair of the Nedbank AU2 Community Trust and serves as a trustee of the Make a Difference Foundation. She is a former president of Harvard Alumni Association South Africa and a fellow of the Institute of Directors in South Africa. Dr. Zinn is a coach, a mentor to several women in multiple industries. She has presented at numerous national and international conferences as a speaker, and in 2015, she published her autobiography titled Swimming Upstream, which focuses on her personal professional journey. And I don't want to unpack what else Swimming Upstream focuses about, because that's what she's going to be talking to us about. Dr. Zinn holds a BA from the University of the Western Cape, postgraduate higher diploma in education from the same university, B.Ed honors from UNISA, a master's in education from the University of the Western Cape, a master's in education from Harvard, and a doctorate in education from Harvard. Phenomenal. She was awarded the Top Woman in Business and Government and Top Executive in Corporate South Africa by Topco Media in 2008. She was also recognized by the Black Business Quarterly and received the award for Top Women in Business, Government, and Most Visionary Woman in 2008. She also received an award from the World Human Resources Congress in Mumbai in 2007 and 2013, respectively, for excellence in global HR leadership. In 2012, she was listed in the top 30 Wonder Women in South Africa by Wits Business Journal. She was awarded South Africa's Most Influential Women in Business and Government in 2016 in the SME sector by the Global CEO. Her most recent award in 2018 was a continental winner in the Business and Professional Services by CEO Global. She has also completed her 9th Two Oceans Marathon and in March, and she keeps on striving to do more. Dr. Shirley Zinn, I have no idea when you have time to do all these things. I don't even know if you recognize yourself when I read out all the achievements you've done. It's an absolute honor for you to actually set time aside to be with us today. The point of our coffee sessions is to expose our men and women to phenomenal leaders like yourself so they can learn, grow, understand that it is possible for them to break the ceiling, touch the sky, and to achieve all their goals. Thank you very much, and I hand over to you, Dr. Shirley Zinn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ntombe, for that gracious and very detailed introduction. I wasn't sure, you're right, about recognizing myself in all of that, but thank you very much for the wonderful and warm welcome here this afternoon. I'm truly honored. I'm delighted to be with you on the coffee session, and Voices of Change is such a powerful platform. And I want to just extend a warm welcome to the men and the women in this room, because collectively we have the power to change this world and create an inclusive society together as he, she, and we. So I'm very excited about this platform and the collaboration today. And I'm truly, truly honored to be here with you and to share some of my lessons learned during my personal and professional journey to date. So let me just very quickly take you through some of the highlights and the lowlights, some of the lessons learned, and then we can have perhaps a few questions later. So just very, very quickly, I was born, let's get that out of the way, in 1961. I was born here in Cape Town. We grew up on the Cape Flats. My parents didn't finish their high school, and it was a very, very difficult financial situation. And needless to say, growing up on the Cape Flats, as it currently still stands, huge poverty, unemployment, gender-based violence, teenage pregnancy, socioeconomic challenges of all descriptions, gangsterism, guns, drugs. It's still very, very prevalent, and it's very, very sad. And I try to go back there as often as I can, just to be supportive in that particular environment. And so we grew up here, and for those of you who know Cape Town, if you're coming from the airport on the N2 towards Muizenberg Beach, you're gonna turn off the N2 onto the M5. And about 5 kilometers before you get to Muizenberg Beach, on the left and the right, you will have Lavender Hill, and you will have the Steenberg old council houses. And we grew up in one of the council houses, which is really steeped in all of the despair and the challenges that I've just described. And so there's very, very little hope here. And what I was trying to do when I wrote this book called Swimming Upstream was really to inspire hope despite adversity, and despite the curveballs of life, and despite the challenges that we face. I want to share with you this afternoon that what is seemingly impossible is actually possible, and that we have to remain actively optimistic even when our situations seem to be very, very adverse. So I want to start by saying that I grew up with parents who didn't finish high school but understood the importance and the necessity of education. I obviously took that to the nth degree, as you heard in Dr. Ntombe's introduction of me, but I will explain to you what that actually means to me. My parents, my dad used to sit, I have a sister that's 3 years younger than I am, and used to sit us down at a very, very young age, and used to say, please do not get stuck in this place. Do not be, do not, lose yourself in this place that we are living. Do not, be caught up in this current space that we're in. And let's try to study and continue to learn so that we can pull ourselves out of this difficult and desperate situation that we find ourselves in. And so he didn't use fancy words, again, like vision, but he was talking about, set yourself some goals. And I eventually said to him, what exactly is it that you would like us to achieve? And he said to me, Shirley, I would just like you and your sister to get to matric. That's really all I'm asking you to do. And I don't have to tell all of you on the call that in communities like this, well, even just if you look at the statistics across South Africa, of the children that get on and grade on to grade 1 and work their way through to grade 12, only about 50% of them actually finally make it through to matric. And so this was a daunting challenge, because when I looked around me, not too many people, especially girls, got to matric. And this is a huge challenge, I think, for our society, even as it currently stands. And so I was very moved by what was possible already through education. And there was a little buzz in my soul that was starting to say to me, you know what, you are going to actually try and make this happen. And my mom on the other side was always good about talking about values. She used to say we have to respect each other. We have to be humble, and not humble in a way that allows people to walk all over you, but humble in a way that you are able to question your own assumptions, rethink your position, listen to other people's point of view as well. Get up when you go down, ask for help if you need help. And so that was the kind of humility that she was trying to inculcate into us at an early age. I think some of the other things that she used to talk about was the combination of hard work and excellence. And here, you know, excellence, I think it was Aristotle that said, make excellence a habit. She would not have known that, but she used to say, just try and do everything to the very best of your ability every single day, regardless of the challenges and the barriers and the difficulties. Just try to do your best. Don't try to be perfect, which is the lesson I want to offer you today as well. Do not try to be perfect, because we cannot. We are humans, and it is impossible to be perfect. Just try to give up your best in all that you do every day. And some of the other lessons I think that were important to me that she left with us was, you know, to be kind, to be generous, generosity of spirit, and to be of service to others. And I think those values have lived with me through my entire life. They've resonated with me, and I'm sure you're sitting there and thinking about, you know, the lessons that you were taught at a very early age, be it from your parents or other significant people around you, and how that has stayed with you and impacted your life. And I didn't know that further down the line, vision and values were going to become incredibly important in my life. So those were the very, very early lessons that I learned, and that I embraced and still resonate with me today. We went to a school about 1 kilometer up that road, and Square Primary, and it was a difficult road to walk because of all the challenges. And eventually we had to stay with my grandmother on the other side of the school because it was safer and we could come on weekends. And so my sister and I weren't too chuffed about that. But today I also want to show gratitude. And I think gratitude is such an important element of our lives, because there's so many things to be sad and dismayed about in life. But I think the little things that count in life are very, very important as well. And I want to show gratitude to those of us who, as extended families, reach out and help in moments like this. My grandmother put us up and made sure we got to school. But she taught us a few valuable lessons, as tough as she was. And one of the lessons that stood out for me was discipline. You know, don't say, you know, so she would say, you can play until 5 o'clock, but don't come in there 5:10 and then you're late, you know, and you don't play tomorrow. So it was those kinds of lessons. And I think discipline helps to give us framework, especially in times of chaos and in times of challenge. And so I'm very grateful for that discipline and that focus that she gave us. Perhaps some other lessons that I learned from her was diligence and getting things done, and determination and dedication to getting the job done. So those kind of 4 Ds I associate with her, and I want to offer that to you as well as a little framework in which you can work and try to navigate your life and your aspirations. And so we went to the high school called South Peninsula High up in Deep River, which also entailed buses and trains and very, very challenging times for us. But nonetheless, I finally got to matric in 1979. I was incredibly grateful. I know many of you weren't born then, but nonetheless, that I got to matric. I didn't know what I was going to do after matric, other than I was going to find a job. But matric was the big daunting goal that I had set for myself from a very, very early age. And it was, it was exciting, and it was very, very scary space to be in. I had two teachers, Mr. Isaacs and Mr. Najjar. They sat me down one day in the middle of that matric year, and they said to me, Shirley, you are not the brightest pea in the pod here. You're not smashing the A lights out necessarily. But here's the lesson also I want to offer to all of you today. The lesson was, you have the capability and you have the potential to do much, much more than you think you're capable of. And I was, wow, okay. Because I could have just listened to the first part of the sentence and been very disappointed by that. And so it's also what we listen to and how those words fall on our ears. This is so important. And I was sitting there and I thought, my word, okay, I thought that matric was it. And they said to me, well, go home and talk to your parents tonight about going to university. And we will help you tomorrow to fill in application forms for bursaries and registration at university and so on. And so, of course, I went home and I had the conversation with my parents. I was very, very excited. And here's the thing, it took 5 minutes for those two teachers to have that conversation with me. And it changed the trajectory of my life forever after that. All it took was 5 minutes. And we, each one of us in the room here, we are able to empower people through our words, through our inspiration, through our supporting them. And I'm so grateful to these teachers. And this is really the power of education, whether it be through formal education, informal education, whether it be through platforms like this, which is incredible learning opportunity through peers. And I just want to say that I'm so grateful to those two teachers for what they said to me that day. I went home and had the conversation with my parents, and yes, it was going to be, we don't have money and we don't have the time and you need to find a job. And so I did my weekend job and I did my chores in the afternoon. But I went back the next day and they helped me to apply for university registration, and they helped me to get a government bursary. Back then you could only get a government bursary for being a teacher or a nurse or a social worker, I think it was, and I didn't have a lot of time to think. But again, I ticked the box of teacher because I thought that resonated with me, and maybe that's the beginning of a journey. And so here I was, never thinking I was going to get beyond matric, and suddenly the next day I'm thinking about, wow, I'm going to use this first thing as the next stepping stone. And so I was very, very grateful, and I went on to the University of the Western Cape in my first year. I don't know if you will remember what happened in 1980 in South Africa. It was essentially a massive educational uprising, and it happened in 1976 when I was a student at school, and it happened in 1980. And I started to connect the dots between my socioeconomic situation, my being a girl growing up in that socioeconomic environment, the regime of apartheid during the day when I was a child growing up, and the role education could play in my life, and how I could advance and progress through these huge barriers and navigate a way forward. So all I want to say to you, that life tosses us curveballs, adversity, tragedy, trauma, but we have amazing resilience to overcome all of these challenges, not less diminished, but even to emerge even more strongly out of these situations. And all of us have a story around this. And it's so important that we share our stories, and because it helps us to remain resilient, it helps us to remain courageous, even when there's so much distraction, there's so much, so many challenges around us. And so I just want to encourage you today to say that it's so important to deliberately surround yourself with people who will uplift, inspire you, challenge you, sponsor you, be an advocate for you, and lift you up. And so make sure that you're spending your time with people like this. And so I finished my first degree, and I went to I almost didn't finish, because in the first year, let me finish at peace, because of the big national uprisings, I had to cancel my registration, I had to cancel my bursary, and I had to find work. My parents said after 3 months of the campus being closed because of all the challenges on the campus, and the dangers on the campus, and literally being on fire, they said, "No, you're going to have to go and find some work somewhere. We cannot have you, just getting yourself involved in all of this activism, and we, we need the income." So I had to cancel my registration and bursary in my first year and try to find a job. And I can tell you there's nothing more soul destroying than going for interviews and not finding a job. And if you look at our unemployment numbers today as we sit, and especially if you look at youth unemployment in our country today, there is so much work that we need to do. Can you imagine what happens to people's emotional wellness and their sense of purpose and their sense of well-being when they're constantly told that there isn't a job available for them, and that entrepreneurial activities are also very, very stymied at this time. So I went back to university and begged for all of my stuff my cancellations to be cancelled and for me to come back. And then I knew, this is one time, Shirley, that you finish this, that you started. This is a fantastic opportunity. And so I want to encourage you all to seize the opportunities, even though it looks like you might not be able to do it, even though it looks murky and it looks challenging. Raise your hand, try to do it, even if you don't feel like you're ready. Ask for help if you need help. And I want to say that the intersectionality of race, gender, class, socialization, our lived experiences, and all the stratification in the levels of society, it is really on us as men and women to try and create, to collaborate, and to ensure that we have a truly equal society. And so, so today is such an exciting moment for this to happen. So to just continue quickly with the story, I then went to teach, because that was part of what I needed to do for my government bursary, as part of the requirements. I taught English in a secondary school here in Cape Town, in a place called Hadaba Park, which is a really, really challenging place as well. And here's the thing, I decided, you know what, you can do one degree, you can probably do the next one. And that is what I then finally done. I did the honours through UNISA, and for those of you studying through UNISA or studying part-time, I have huge empathy for you and admiration, because I know how much effort that takes to pull all of that together, to go to work, to study, to be, a partner, to be a mom or a dad all at the same time. And so those and those things are so critical, and we can come back to that point a little bit later. So I just want to say, I continue to study. I'm not advocating that everybody does what I did, but what I am advocating is that it is important to continue to learn. Continuous learning is extremely important because of the pace of change in this world. If we want to stay on top of our game, we all have to continue to learn, and platforms like these are incredibly valuable to ensure that we are staying on top of our game and using our energies and our time wisely. And so, of course, when I was done with my 4 years of teaching, I went to the University of the Western Cape and became a lecturer there, and in teacher education. And this is where I met Kevin. Okay, so Kevin and I will be married for 30 years on the 24th of June. And what an amazing person, just to celebrate a little bit. I think it was Sheryl Sandberg in a book. She's a CEO of Facebook, which I think she's just retired now. And she wrote a book called Lean In. Many of you might have read it. And she devoted a whole chapter to partnerships. Now, we can think about partnerships in different ways: partnerships in business, partnerships with our communities, and partnerships with our significant others. And so I, was very, very fortunate to find someone who really, really supported me. And I'm very, very grateful. And today, I want to celebrate the men and women. But for me, today, especially if I hold up my husband and I hold up my dad and my teachers and some of the people that supported me through my life, it is so important that we pay homage and we say thank you and we show gratitude so that we can work together towards saying we can scale this thing to create that opportunity for just about everybody, and we can change the world in that collaboration as men and as women. And so I'm going to fast forward very quickly. Kevin's mother clipped out a little newspaper clipping. She still does that, actually. She always thinks I might be missing something because I'm running around so much. And so she clipped out the things that said something like this: Harvard South Africa Fellowship now open for application. And I would never have imagined that I could go to Harvard. I said to Eugene, do you really think it's possible for me to go to Harvard? Do you understand what this thing is? And the message I want to give here is that sometimes there are people out there who believe in us before we even believe in ourselves. And we have to listen for those voices that are out there. And it's so important that we trust those voices, and we then also believe in ourselves. So as I applied, probably along with a few thousand other people, let me tell you, you can Google it later. Harvard South African Fellowship is still out there, giving 5 scholarships a year to South Africans who want to study particular programs. You have to get through all the hoops on the programs as well yourself, but they do pay for your stay at Harvard. And I was incredibly honored to be one of the 5 to be chosen to go in 1990. I did a second master's at Harvard University. And again, what an amazing and daunting experience. The only big thing was that I had to leave Kevin here in Cape Town, and I had to go on my own out into the world. And again, you know, sometimes the message really here from me to you is that we have to get out of our comfort zone sometimes, and we have to take the opportunities that are offered to us. And that was a huge challenge to me. There was no WhatsApp and email. It was all snail mail and expensive long distance calls. But nonetheless, I came back here when I finished my master's, and I had a wonderful supervisor at Harvard, and he said to me, you really must do the doctoral program. Now, you don't just get into doctoral program and you don't just apply on a piece of paper. There are a whole lot of hoops that you've got to go through. But the point was that, again, here was a message that said you must do this. I came back home, and Kevin and I got married. And here's another thing. I sat him down and I said to him, you know, I'd really like you to come with me to Harvard to do this doctorate. And here's a person who was in a job, who then gave up his job, who sold his car and whatever else it was that he has, bearing in mind I didn't have a scholarship for the doctorate. And I thought I was going to find enough work to be able to survive and study and work. And it was an incredibly difficult time for us there, financially, the first 3 or 4 months particularly. So in the first, and think about it, if you just sat there for a second, if your significant other came home this evening to say to you, you know what, please will you go with me to anywhere in the world to study? What kind of response would we give them? You know, and again, I'm truly grateful for him having given up what was his life to go with me on this journey into the unknown. And so off we went, and by the 3rd or 4th month into the studies, and I was working as a graduate assistant, as an international assistant, graduate assistant in the offices at Harvard there. I just knew I wasn't going to make it. And this is where humility matters. I had to get up, I had to take the walk of shame to the financial aid office, and I had to say, you know what, I cannot pay my fees. I'm slipping behind. I think we need to go home. And she took out my results and she said, you know what, if you continue to perform in this way, we are going to assist you with your tuition. We're going to give you 3 teaching fellowships and you will live. But you know what, you're going to come back here every 6 months and we're going to sit and look at your results. And so I learned very quickly what pay for performance was all about there. And I was incredibly grateful for that opportunity to finish my doctorate. So I started in 93, I finished in 97. And if that wasn't enough, I came home, Kevin and I, we came home with a son that was born in 1995. He's called Jamie, and I wouldn't have had it any differently. And so that is part of the journey that I wanted to share with you. And up to this point, things have been pretty, pretty amazing. I would never have imagined that any of this could have happened to me. We moved up to Pretoria. I started my job in the Department of Public Service and Administration. I didn't get the job I wanted to here in Cape Town in education. And this is the thing, sometimes we don't get what it is that we want, and it does frustrate us. But the lesson I took out of that is when one door closes, a much larger door actually opened up to me into the world of HR. And so it was just quite amazing how that actually happened. I ended up first in Southern Life as a training manager. I reckoned I could teach at a high school, I can teach at a university, I could teach in a corporate. And so I transferred that knowledge. And this is for some of you looking, at your careers and thinking, what way can I reinvent or reimagine myself? And so it's important. The lesson I take out of there is not to kind of box yourself into, what you think is a box. It's really to look, widen your lens and think about how you can apply your skills, your experience, your knowledge in a broader sense. And so, of course, we moved up to Pretoria, and it was quite a huge challenge. My in-laws moved with us to help us with Jamie. I had one or two roles there, and I landed up at a company called Rickert Benkiser. For those of you who don't know, it's a FMCG, global FMCG company, and you might know the products like Dettol and Veet and Mr. Min and Cobra Polish and such things. And I was literally, I was responsible for Africa, Middle East. My career was literally flying. And then something quite devastating happened. We used to come back up and down for Christmases to Cape Town. And one day we were driving back on the N2. We were just on the N2 outside Cape Town International Airport, just going past there on the 3rd of January, 2003. And at about 1:30 in the afternoon, and a car hit us from behind. We rolled in the car, and we lost Jamie in that car accident on the scene. It was hugely devastating. I was 24 hours touch and go. They didn't think that I was going to live, and Kevin was very, very seriously injured. There was just, I can't explain to you the devastation when the news was broken to me about the loss of our only child. And I didn't ever think that I would come back from that in any way, shape or form. And I'd lost my confidence. I lost my sense of energy and purpose, and going down a serious hole of despair and grief. And I want to say to all of you today that many of us are in some ways potentially feeling this way, the sense of loss, having come through the last 2 years of COVID, grieving the loss of loved ones, of colleagues, of our own health having been impacted, of our own mental well-being being impacted, and it is a tough space to be in, and we are challenged enormously at a time like this. And so for me, I thought, well, I'd learned everything about psychology and the grief cycle, and I need to apply this to myself. And I thought, well, magically I can be superhuman, I can just get up and I can go back to work, which is what I did. And a few weeks after that, I realized that I actually needed to get help. I needed to go for counseling, and Kevin and I did this. And a few weeks and months after counseling, I realized that, Shirley, you really need to find the strength to pull yourself up out of the murkiness of this grief and the sadness and this loss. You can never get over Jamie, but you can put one foot in front of the other every day. Try this, And so this is what we have to do. And I think all of us, we have been through an incredibly difficult time. And I just want to say to you today, we are not superhuman and we are not machines. We are human beings, and we have our vulnerabilities. And that is what makes us uniquely human. And I think that I learned that I needed to reach out and get help. Many of us, we still don't do enough of that. And today I just want to encourage you to do that. The other thing that I did learn during this time is that I needed to live my life when I got up from that with more meaning and purpose. I needed to be more purpose driven. I needed to understand why I get up in the morning. And I want to encourage each one of you to find that spot within yourself where you say, I get up to give healing and hope and to help people to find their potential through education and through learning and through sharing our stories and supporting each other. And I get up to try and create a better life for all. And in whatever way, shape or form that might pan out for you. It is so important to live your life with purpose and meaning, and it takes a lot of courage to distill that down and then to live it, in everything that you are doing. So I want to say to you, I've been very, very fortunate to hold all the roles that I then held, and I just want to pause to tell you what happened after I had gone for the help after the passing of Jamie. And the book is dedicated to him. I didn't think I could go back to your corporate again, so I started Shirley Zinn Consulting, and I thought I would do small projects and build up my confidence through that, which is what I then started to do. And when I got the invitation to come for an interview at the South African Revenue Services for a head of HR role there, I was absolutely terrified. I didn't think I could actually do that, and I didn't want to go. But there was a search firm that was very resilient and said to me, please just go and do the courtesy of meeting the commissioner then. And I went, and I was incredibly stressed out and anxious about this. And I think we all have, various anxieties right now and uncertainties that we are dealing with. And then I went, and I wasn't sure, and I suppose that exuded. And the end of it was really that I signed up for that role, and it took a lot of courage to step up and step out. And I want to encourage you to do that, even when you're at your most vulnerable. That is when potentially the most incredible opportunity happens. And so, of course, that was a healing for me. And I was able to then move to Nedbank and Standard Bank and Woolworths, as you heard. The thing was that I needed to rechannel my energies. It's not always about time. And people will say, how do you balance your time? It's not about the balance. It's about the synergy and about the harmony. It's about the purpose. It's about using your time wisely. Every day matters. Don't defer things if you can actually do it. And make sure that you are channeling your energies in the most optimal way every single day. Also important to have fun. So you might say, how do you get fun out of running half marathons and all of these things? Kevin put me on the road, and I didn't even think I could do that as well. But what I'm saying to you is that our spiritual wellness, our social wellness, our and social quotient, if you like, our emotional quotient, and our intellectual quotient, our adaptability quotient, all of these elements work together to make us successful, and we need to purposefully work on that in order to stay healthy, to be able to be performing, to be able to have a positive mindset despite all of the challenging things that might come, and that it's okay to not be okay from time to time. It is, we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves when it comes to this. So I just want to kind of try and finish up now so that we can take a couple of questions and say to you that, life does toss us incredibly challenging balls sometimes. And I want to say that it is absolutely possible through platforms like this and opportunities like this to find a way to build your network, to build relationships that matter. Networks are not just about getting together from time to time. It's about authentic and real relationships with people that you truly care about. Be authentic, stay true to yourself, stay true to who you are. I just want to say very quickly, so when I finished those roles that were shared with you earlier, I came back. We're back in Cape Town here now. And I would never have imagined also the board opportunities that emerged. A lot of them, okay, it's listed companies, it's academic, it's private companies, and also a lot of NPOs. So it's very important also to give back. And I want to, each one of us here in our own way, it's not about titles, but we are leaders because we lead right from where we are. And I want to encourage all of you, if you can take a young person under your wing, you don't have to do, a contrived situation. It just takes a few minutes of inspiration to uplift people, and we can start planting seeds of hope within our people, but especially in our young people. So invest in your experiences, because this will help you to grow and feed your passion. It's wonderful that you've invested in this experience here today. No matter how difficult the road gets, never give up. Always be mindful of your impact on others, that your words matter, that your behaviors matter, that your actions matter, and that we are all vulnerable, and that we are not superhumans, and definitely not machines. And know your true north. Sometimes your worst setbacks can lead to your biggest opportunities. And treat yourself kindly. Forgive yourself for mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. Pick yourself up and move forward. And always trust yourself and your talent and your gifts. The road to achievement is filled with many bumps and potholes and curves, but also with many opportunities. And be intentional and deliberate about your choices. And as I close, I just want to encourage you to say the collective power of women and men to build an inclusive society together is really what is important here in South Africa today. We see many challenges as we look across the horizon here, but I believe that in this room here sits the seeds of a future that is truly inclusive, that is truly creating a better life and a better world for all. And I just want to encourage you all here today. Thank you so much for listening so graciously. Thank you so much for the honor of being able to speak here, and sending all of you much love, much courage, much boldness, and much tenacity during a time like this. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was absolutely, I think I'm at a loss for words. I wish you could see the comments that have come through. They are absolutely inspiring. Shirley, I think you've given way more than was anticipated, apart from the introduction to who you are, apart from what you've shared, your journey. There's a reason, very intentionally, your book is called Swimming Upstream. Even knowing you on a personal front, the elements, even I don't know. So thank you very much for sharing with everybody so freely, so vulnerably, so openly, in your authentic self. This truly was such an honor and a pleasure to have you here today. So thank you for your time. We didn't receive any questions, interestingly enough, throughout the session, and looking, we'd received nothing. But what I do want to spend just a couple minutes doing is just reading some of the comments we've gotten, if that's okay. And then I'm gonna hand back kindly to some of our team. But I do see Carl has her hand raised. So before I read any of the comments, Carl, go for it, please.
Yeah, there was a question to find out where they can get Dr. Shirley's book.
Oh, thank you for that.
You can just let them know.
Thank you, Carl. The book is available at exclusive books nationwide. I think some of them might have run out of some of it, so you can also do Take a Lot or Amazon.com. Thank you. Or go straight to Knowledge Resources, who is the publisher, through their website.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you. I don't think there's anything else. I've just gotten somebody to cross-check my thinking. Okay, there's nothing else. Okay. So some of the comments that we've received, and they really have been very special. One was from Subhashini Pillai, 100%. If we have passion, we can do anything. But yes, our kids, especially of today, they need that extra motivation. From Milani Songkrise, discipline helps us in times of chaos. She loves this. Nobomi Msiza, I love the values of respect, gratitude, discipline. Dr. Zinn is sharing. Renee has said we tend to confuse excellence with perfection. Very valid. Lerato has said deliberately surround yourself with people that lift, inspire, and embrace you. Absolutely love it. Divani Mbambala, lean into collaboration with other women. Shawandar Dawar, we're never too old to learn. Marcel Holier, wow, that's powerful. We can change the world. And yeah, Shirley, they just keep coming. They just keep coming through. So yeah, just thank you again. A big, big thank you. This has been hugely valuable. It's been hugely touching. It's been hugely humbling as part of the generation that, you know, that feels we can have it tough, and we do at times. I think listening to stories like yours and it really does inspire us to have a sanity check. But oh, we do have a hand. Lamona Raja, if you would like to come off mute, brave
Yes.
enough to work for camera, by all means.
Oh, yes, hello. Hi. Dr. Shirley Zinn, thank you so much for your, and please excuse my lights. It seems like I have a disco going on, but it's not. Thank you so much for graciously sharing. I just got off a call now with some females from across the Africa Middle East region on a women's development program. And one of the questions that they asked was, how do we help our women, or how does one get started in building resilience and tenacity? And you mentioned being resilient and being, well, I don't know whether you use the word tenacious, but how would someone get started? We often hear people saying, do it, be resilient, but how do you start on this journey of resilience, especially if you come from an environment like you described, where there's this constant struggle and you may not see a lot of role models who display that, or you just don't know how to get started?
Okay, thank you, Lamona. Lovely to see you as well. That's a really great question, and I think that we have resilience and tenacity within us. Sometimes we just don't realize that it's there, and it comes out when we are facing, you know, huge challenges and crises. Often we realize that we're able to rise up to some of those challenges, even though we feel traumatized and we feel vulnerable and we feel overwhelmed and anxious and concerned about either failure or what other people might think of us, or the tragedies that we face in life. So it often is there, but it's in conversations and sharing the stories about what it feels like when you're in a crisis, when you had a loss, when you are in deep grief, when you having a moment at work, when you feel untreated, when you feel you're not being treated fairly, when those sorts of things happen to us as human beings, we sit back and reflect on what has just happened here, and how am I going to respond to that? And it's in that moment actually that you turn to those very people that I've been talking about, that uplift and inspire you, that create a safe space, that you can go and talk to those people, those mentors, those role models, those community leaders, spiritual leaders, whoever you might, go and have a conversation like that about how you are feeling in response to whatever has happened, to impact on your humanness in a way that makes you feel at a loss in some way, in terms of how to respond. So it's not a thing where I can say we must put it in an MBA program to teach people, what it means to be resilient. It's a part of the human condition, actually, and we have it within ourselves. The question is to be mindful of the fact that it is there, and that we need to hone it, purposefully. We need to think about it, and we do that in the safe places created with mentors or with people that would care about us. We can learn about it theoretically. I mean, there's a huge amount of research on there about being resilient and overcoming the odds and the curveballs and the challenges of life. There's so many theoretical, psychological models, and maybe it's useful to learn that so that you have the theory, and you have examples of when that was applicable. But in your own life, that is why we need to have those people around us. And if we have the theory, it also helps. Sometimes can hinder us though, because I thought I knew all this stuff, and I'd read all the books on these things. But you need to find a way to understand your own inner workings and do the personal mastery stuff at the same time, because sometimes we take the things, we externalize it, and then we look for the answers out there when the answers actually lie right here. So it's a combination of the two things. I'm not saying that we mustn't deliberately learn to be more resilient, but we also need to do the inner work and ask ourselves, how resilient am I actually, in various situations, and what are the gaps, and what do I need to learn to be able to improve on that?
Excellent. Thank you so much. I will definitely take that message back. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we do see hands up, Arnold and Lisa, but unfortunately, due to time, we're going to have to do our close. Sad. So, but thank you. At least we got to get to 2 questions. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Deshika. So thank you very much, Shirley.
Thank you, Danielle.
Desh, you are on mute.
You would think that we would have learned that by now. I just was saying thank you, Dr. Shirley Zinn, and hello, everybody. That was absolutely amazing. I think every single person might have been, like me, just totally captivated and in awe of all the things that you shared. On behalf of our founding partners and our other partners, Accenture, Business Engage, NetBank, AECI, AngloGold Ashanti, Astron Energy, EOH, Kearney, Life Healthcare, Pfizer, and Refinitiv, I'd like to sincerely thank you and every single person that has joined today to be part of these coffee chats. Your story was amazing. I'd like to ask everyone to use the virtual clapping and just show appreciation for the incredible human being that you are. I'll lead that. And just to summarize and to say that some of the learnings I think that has come through from your story is that anything is possible. Your circumstances don't define you. Live your values. In addition, hard work is required. It's not an easy journey, as we've heard, but continuous learning and surrounding yourself with the right people and giving of your best will get you to where you want to go. Dr. Shirley Zinn, thank you so much for those insights. You have truly been a blessing and such an inspiration. To everybody else, please look out for our next coffee session, which is going to be on the 22nd of July. We have Mzamo Masito from Google Africa that will be joining us. This will be our first male voice leaning into this conversation for our coffee chats. We look forward to it. Have a blessed day further. And thank you, Dr. Zinn. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zinn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.